Okay. So I have the case study pulled up. So I'll just read it.
Okay.
It says, I am a CTRS working in an intensive day treatment program for adults with a substance abuse diagnosis. A patient, Sam, is admitted for alcohol and cocaine dependency with a comorbidity of HIV positive with AIDS. He is very private and does not share his HIV positive status with his peer group in treatment. Although he is HIV positive, the patient's current health status is generally good. Sam has some good days and some bad days. When he is feeling physically good, he sorry, there's like lines on my screen, so parts of it are cut off.
You're fine.
He can participate in a structured He can participate in all structured program activities, including physical sports activities like volleyball, which are designed to promote appropriate, sober, and social interaction. When he is feeling poorly, he is unable to participate in structured activities. On a day Sam feels physically well, he wants to play volleyball with his peers. I am not sure if I should let him play volleyball because he is HIV positive. So, identify the behavior.
So it's just that he wants to play volleyball and he's HIV positive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Being HIV positive isn't a behavior, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's like the reason for the dilemma, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you can call it a dilemma.
Oh, should he or shouldn't he?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So determine the professional relevance. What do you guys think?
I mean, yeah, it pertains to your professional role and your professional relationship, because depending on whether you say yes or no, it's going to have an effect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if he says, I want to go play volleyball, and you say no because you have HIV, then he's obvious. I feel like he would kind of take that offensively.
Yeah.
And you as a professional helping him, it might cause him to be more resistant to you, less compliant.
And I especially think that he would feel offended by that, like saying, no, you can't play volleyball because of this condition. I feel like he'd be especially offended because he's in a facility where he's supposed to be getting help and learning how to cope with the problems that he has. And if he can't do something that he wants to do, then he probably is like, well, then what's the point of being here?
Mm-hmm. Right. And like you're stopping him from getting what part of his treatment is, so
exactly.
Not helping either.
All right, anything else on that? All right. So the next one is differentiate personal and or personal values and ideas.
So personal versus professional.
Yeah.
On one hand, like not letting him play, like what am I trying to say? Stopping him might be more of a personal than a professional. It's a bit of both, because like it's your own, whether subconscious or conscious, prejudices. You're stopping him because what you believe and what science has told you, obviously, as well. And it's professional because you're thinking of the safety of your other clients. But at the same time, it's like you're stopping him from having his treatment, but you want to let him, which is personal. It's just a weird combination.
Mm-hmm. But HIV really isn't spread through like casual contact, though.
Exactly.
It's only spread through like blood, I guess, would be the only way it could potentially be spread through a volleyball game.
Yeah.
Right.
It's an STD.
Right.
Yeah. And I would assume if he's at a facility, or pretty much anybody knows, like if you're HIV positive and you start bleeding, you deal with that immediately. Like even if he doesn't want to share, but he's HIV positive with people, at that point, you just gotta suck it up. And
Yeah.
like you as the professional, if you notice that, you have to be like, sorry, dude, like if I have to tell these people right now, I have to tell them because there's a reason why we're taking away the volleyball at this moment.
Yeah.
And
Right.
like, even if I don't tell them explicitly, they're gonna figure it out.
Exactly. And I feel like that's more of the professional side of the issue is just the safety of the client, the other clients, like you said.
Yeah.
But the personal thing, I don't know, personally, I would like want him to play volleyball because I know that HIV can't be spread by playing volleyball,
Right.
but
Yeah.
it's just the professional blood. I don't know. That's the only way it could be spread.
Yeah.
So you'd have to consider the likelihood of, okay, so what's the fact that there's going to be blood, like transmission in this activity? You know what I mean?
And
How
in
often do you bleed?
volleyball, it's not boxing.
Exactly.
The chances of him starting to bleed all over the place are so low.
Yeah.
And then again, even if he did, if something happened and he started to bleed, you wouldn't necessarily even have to, I guess make a huge deal out of it. Like, yes, it would be a big deal, but you could treat it just like any other first aid.
Yeah.
And so he could keep that to himself still, I feel.
Yeah.
Unless it's like an extreme case where, I don't know.
I mean, if he were to bleed at all, it would probably be just from like a bloody nose or tripping and scraping himself. And then you could just say, okay, come with me and we're going to go take care of it. And then cover it up. And if it's covered up, then he's probably more than likely fine to go right back into the game. But if it's serious, then it's too serious to play volleyball, obviously. So it probably could just be treated as any other first aid without people even having to know.
Yeah. Like you would have to know and you would take the precautions, but none of the other clients would need to be involved.
No.
Right.
Right. What about legal duties?
Legally, if there was an issue where he spread blood everywhere, you would have to tell the other clients and
get
them tested right away.
But
that's all I can think of.
Yeah. I think the only thing I can really think of is just like the obligation you have to all your clients, which is basically what we were just talking about, is just being concerned about their safety in this situation. But
and also his privacy.
Yeah, his privacy, definitely. And even the right that he has to be treated.
Yeah.
Because he's there for treatment, and if part of his treatment is physical activity, then he'll be allowed to participate in physical activity.
That's what I was just going to say, just going along with the standards and the code of ethics that agency has to give each individual the best care possible. If that, if volleyball will help him meet his goals and will meet his needs, and, if it's a good activity and that social situation is applicable for what he needs, then he should be allowed to participate.
Yeah. Exactly.
Regardless of what you think personally. I don't know. Regardless of your prejudice.
Yeah.
I got that.
Yeah, exactly. All right, ethical obligations. Oh, did you have something else?
No, I was just going to read the next one, so you're good.
Okay. Ethical obligations, which is basically like the same thing as that you just said, Erin, is it's the facility's purpose of being there is to like give him treatment and allow him to participate in activities. And just because he has HIV, like he can't be isolated.
Right.
It doesn't help his social needs and whatnot. And I feel like that would just make everything worse and cause depression because then he feels like he's an outcast.
It could do more harm than hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else there?
No.
No.
What's our action?
Let him play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like this is a pretty simple
Yeah, it doesn't feel like much of a dilemma.
no. I feel
No.
like more than anything, it's probably just a prejudice, personal conflict.
Hmm
I don't know.
Mhm.
Even
That's what I think as well, is it's more of a personal thing. Like, back in the day when AIDS first kind of made its appearance, when everybody was like, oh, you have AIDS, I can't get within 10 feet of you, type of a thing,
mhm.
And I mean, obviously it's not that extreme, but it's kind of what it reminds me of, is just that you have this, and so we need to isolate you.
Yeah.
When in reality, it's not as big of a danger as they might think.
Yeah.
Mhm. And like when I read this, my first thought was like, wait, am I missing something? Can AIDS be spread in more ways than I thought? Because I don't know why this is an issue. And like looked up how AIDS can be spread. I'm like, no, I'm right.
Yeah, I
I
did the same thing because
know
I
what
was
I'm
like,
doing.
how is this even an issue?
Yeah,
But
like very cut and dry, but okay.
yeah, it's definitely just a personal thing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. And I feel like in healthcare, you can't have those prejudices.
No,
No.
Like, no.
definitely not. And definitely not with people that like have something that's not necessarily easily contagious.
Hmm
Like if somebody comes in with the flu, obviously you're going to take precautions, wear a face mask if you must, but HIV, like there's not wear
hmm
gloves when you're treating a pet. Or,
And I feel like if you're working in this kind of a facility, you're gonna run into people with AIDS a lot.
yeah.
Like,
Right.
so yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's gonna be way more common. So why is this guy any different?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, chances are other people playing volleyball also have HIV.
Yeah.
That's true. And I feel like you said about the flu, like, yeah, you might wear a face mask when you're around them, or they might have to wear a face mask, but people generally know that the
Mhm.
flu is very contagious.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have HIV, you know that there's only few ways it can be spread. So,
Yes. You're very cautious of those ways.
yes.
Yeah.
So,
And I feel like too in this situation, if the client were to bleed or anything, like he would be just as concerned about it as the facilitator should be.
right.
He knows that it can spread that way, and I would hope at least that he doesn't want to inflict that on anybody else
Wishing
or
it
like
all.
think it's a possibility, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Cool. There was something else we were supposed to talk about today, wasn't there?
Was there?
The group experience. Apparently, we're supposed to discuss group experiences. I don't know what exactly that means.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Oh, I never even saw that. Okay, group experiences.
Group experiences regarding what?
Exactly. I don't know.
Probably just
Let me pull up, because it says for the response.
I'm assuming just like is it like our group experience or
I
experience
think
that we've
in
had
general,
like treatment in groups? Because I
because
guess
like
we're talking about that.
the journal entry for this week
Mm-hmm.
is asking about like what makes a good group work. So
So group experiences that we have had that were
Mhm.
successful or unsuccessful, maybe.
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys have any thoughts? Do you want me to start? Do you want to start?
The first thing that came to my mind is anytime I've been a part of a group, like obviously for projects or like these online meeting groups or just any kind of a group, there's always somebody that is designated as a leader
Mm-hmm.
that can help like run everything and just kind of keep everything in line and where it's supposed to be, even if they're not necessarily somebody that's not participating and they're just facilitating. Like, they are there to make sure everything is running smoothly, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an important part.
Mm-hmm. I was actually going to say the same thing. The first thing that came to my mind was experiential ed, and just learning the importance of a leader that knows how to work with a group, knows the dynamics of a group, and can work within the group along with, knowing what to do as, the activity or the project or whatever you're doing as that's going along, knowing what to do in situations where it changes, where something unexpected comes up. So I just think that, being a leader and being able to think creatively and, kind of always being on your toes so that when something unexpected happens, especially in TR, because I feel like at any given moment with the populations that we're working with, something unexpected could happen, and we just have to think what would be the best the best comeback, the best situation to put this person in, so that it can be successful still.
Yeah, definitely.
That's super true. Whenever I think of like a good group that I've been in was actually in my stats class, surprisingly. All of us were like rec majors, and so we don't really do math. But it worked because like nobody really got left behind. In that kind of class, it's super easy to just be like, cool, like time's up, and anyone just leave off where you left off and figure out the rest on your own. But our group was usually like the last ones there because we were all working together to make sure everyone understood what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good because it was just like there wasn't a weird like advantage or anything because everyone just worked together really cohesively.
Yeah.
Cohesion is huge
Mm-hmm.
in
I
a
think
group.
that's important for facilitators and people that are running programs to understand too, is how to create groups and like putting people with specific people that are like them and that aren't going to leave them behind. Or
Mm-hmm.
like an example of that I just thought of actually. So I work doing an after school program, and I run different activity classes every day. And the last 6 weeks I was doing a dodgeball class, and it's first grade or kindergarten through fourth grade. And so something that I had to do every single week when I would split them up into groups is I would make sure there was the same amount of kindergartners on each team, the same amount of first graders, so that it was fair both ways. And like all the fourth graders weren't beating up on the kindergartners. And so I think planning out group placement is huge in the success of a group.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts?
That's all I got.
Me too.
Yeah, same here.
Well, awesome.
All right. Well,
Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for your thoughts.
yeah.
Yeah.
See you guys next time.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah.
Bye.